everyone and welcome back to Let's Replay Metroid Zero Mission. In the last part, we defeated Mother Brain, got our ship blown up, and lost everything, and now we're going through Chosodium once more. I just realized that statue's in a draw me like one of your French girls thing, but the item on it is gone. No, work could have gone. Well, clearly that asshole stole it. Also, you know what's annoying? When I record this entire part's commentary, but then I realized I had my mic in the wrong position, thus all I could really sound like was I was in the distance. And one thing I only just now learned about the game, while recording this, is when you're in the section of the game while you're playing as Zero Suit Samus and you save, on the main menu when you're loading up your file, your head actually, the save icon, the icon that you use to choose your file, which is usually Samus's helmet, becomes her Zero Suit, her actual face. I never noticed that before. But then again, I usually play through this entire game in one sitting, so... 10 years I've been playing it and I never even noticed that stuff. You know, that's how you can tell you make a game good, when you're still finding stuff out years later. It's like not Zero Suit. It's like, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I'm still finding secret rings in that game after so long. Sonic 3K. I will get to Let's Playing you one day. You know, I just realized there are Chozo paintings in the background. And I've actually never had them lose sight of me in that area, but they somehow did for like 0.5 seconds, and I don't know how. This is actually, yeah, if I recall correctly, this is the last chase area in the game. And it's pathetically easy, to be honest. The only part that can be kind of tricky is you have to blow up this last bit now, otherwise they're gonna jump and climb up and find you. Because they stop the chase immediately, thankfully. Now, one weird thing about this next upcoming room is that it has a song that only plays this one time. And it's actually a really nice and calming piece that I really like, but they only play it here, and it makes me sad. And that is the only time we ever see anything having to do with her childhood in the main games. You get to see some of it as well as really find a concrete backstory for her in the Zero Mission manga, which was released around the same time in Japan. But that's pretty much non-canon stuff for the most part, her backstory aside. Anyway, this boss is rather easy. Whenever the orb it's holding turns into the sigil, that's not Samus, just shoot it then. 4 hits and he's gone. He's technically weaker than the worm boss because this guy dies from the pistol. If you can call it a guy to begin with. Now, it's obviously touch damage, and the lightning will hurt, but if you shoot it while it's not the sigil, it will also hurt you, because you're technically shooting a mirror of yourself. Also, Metroid fans will recognize the design of this guy somewhat from later games, if you recognize the design of the armor in particular. But overall, this guy isn't that hard. Defeating him just can be a bit tricky if your aim is off, like mine was for this final hit. But he goes down fairly easily. It's time for us to progress, and it's also time for us to get something that's rather popular. Shoulder pad time. And with that, all of our unknown items become usable and we regain everything else. The beam becomes the plasma beam, which goes through multiple enemies and does hell a lot of damage. The suit becomes the gravity suit, which allows you to walk as if you're in normal air while underwater and negates all normal lava damage. And then one of the miscellany becomes the space jump, which allows you to jump infinitely as long as you rhythmically press A correctly. So now our suit is fully powered, aside from collectibles, And it's time for my favorite theme in the game. Best mix of Brinstar by far. It is a completely different mix from the one earlier in the game. And with that, we're pretty much done with collectible finding. There's only one thing left to get in the game that's required, and we'll be getting that later this video. So yeah, now we can even walk in acid. We are now completely immune to most elements in the natural world, enemies aside. And here we find a super missile upgrade, which are very few and far between. In fact, I find 3 in this part, I think, which is kind of weird. I don't recall there being that many. In fact, I recall that second super missile that I just got being a normal missile. And yeah, now we can insta-kill, well, pretty much insta-kill not only the space pirates, but the eyes that are on the walls. And oh boy, is it satisfying. Makes that entire stealth section really worth it, honestly. So yeah, now we finally have our shoulder pads. It only took the entire game, really, didn't it? Then again, to be fair, they only didn't put in the shoulder pads on the Variosuit because the original Metroid 1 Variosuit didn't have them. And that was just, as I just showed off, the save room now will also restore any ammunition, be it super missiles, or other things that we might get later on. Oh, I love the space jump. Mind you, I could do this with the wall jump and I'd be just fine, but even still. Now, this glass tube here that I brought up last time, keep that in mind for later. I'm going to mention it again later on, because it's kind of imperative when it comes to 100%. Oh, I love this song. I forget whether or not this song plays throughout the entire rest of the areas, though. Because I know it plays here in Chozodia now, and I believe even Brinstar now has this theme. But I forget if the other areas like Norfair, Crate, and Ridley share this theme as well now. Or Criteria, even. I will say, though, oh, Black Space Pirates. Those guys are, there's only like 3 Black Space Pirates in the entire game, I want to say, and you want to keep watching out for them, because they hurt, and they take a lot to kill. So pretty much they're the only competent in fact, I think they're harder than Ridley to fight, honestly. They're the most competent members of the Space Pirates. Also, if you're in a save room while there's an alert, you cannot use it, if I recall correctly. And in here is actually, this is always a point where I get kind of confused, because with that missile door there that I just blew up, the red one at least, I'm always confused because, well, my inner exploration makes me think that where I need to, a thing that I can't open normally is the way I need to go, but in fact this only leads to a super missile. And that yellow door there we can't do anything about, yet. I'll go into what it does later. I freaking hate the Black Space Pirates, by the way. You can't even screw attack into them. I guess, well, actually, no, I guess there's more than 3. I guess that means there's 5 in the game, normally. That ship totally isn't important, by the way. Excuse me, sirs. Out of the way, please. Yeah, that was me testing whether or not I could actually screw attack them. Oh, great, the R2-D2 gonk thing. Wake this thing up with your fires, then just with your blaster, then just use missiles to get it out of your way, because otherwise it moves so slowly. It can go in the other direction too. Ugh. And there was that yellow door that I saw earlier. In fact, I just thought about that. Why haven't I... Can you even use that to do something later in the game? I completely forget. I should check while I'm in the last, like, 5 minutes of the game. Also, I like how the doors look in the Space Pirate world place. In this area of the game, really. They look completely different than they do throughout the rest of Zebes, but I think it looks awesome. Kinda reminds me of the way they look in Prime, actually. And then you have those green guys up there. I'm not even sure if you can kill those things. I know you can in Super, I don't think you can here. And that's me space jumping and making it look like I'm wall jumping because I like wall jumping. In fact, that's one thing I could say that Mega Man X will always have over Samus. Even though Samus can wall jump off one wall in some incarnations, X can wall jump off one wall and everything. And now you have to head down here to progress because, well, that asshole's there with that thing that we wanted. If you went up, you wouldn't be able to progress any further without getting this, by the way. And that Space Pirate's gone. Anyway, here we get the final power-up in the game, the Power Bombs. Go into your Morph Ball and you hold R and press B to use them. They open the yellow hatches. And if you use one in that glass tube I mentioned earlier, you can break the glass tube, which is how you exit Chozodia to begin with, so you can go back to the previous areas in 100% the game. I'm not doing this because I'm a speedrunner, not a 100%er when it comes to Fusion or Zero Mission. I'm both when it comes to Super, because you can get everything in Super Metroid and speedrun it if you know what you're doing very easily. But not so in these two. You know, I just realized, I don't think I've ever fully charged the Plasma Beam in this game. At least not in recent memory. What is the purpose of this room? Seriously. Anyway, here we got what is actually the final save room in the game. And while I was recording, I actually took a quick break here because I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing really quickly. Because there's always something in the upcoming 10 minutes that I always forget to do, so I checked to make sure I remember to do it. And I also needed to refocus some things, too. So now we can head up here! Well, we could have anyway, but I wanted to save there because the final save point should always be used, aside in Super. Because that last save point in Super Metroid is a point of no return. Power bombs are ridiculous, by the way. This room actually houses another very annoying missile tank. What you have to do is speed boost and break the panel near the door, and then space jump away around all sorts of different lasers to get to a missile pack. If you touch one laser, you have to exit or re-enter the room because otherwise you're screwed. And where's the final boss? He's supposed to be in here. That's a claw. And that head is... oh no. Meet Robo Ridley. His difficulty varies with how close you are to 100% in the game. The more collectibles you have, the harder he is. I only have around half the items in the game, so he is pathetically easy. Like 4 super missiles will take him out. He has many different attacks. You can actually destroy those missiles that he shoots out of his back for ammo, but otherwise he is pathetically easy. If you have 100% though, he's actually rather painful to... well, first off, he's painful anyway. He does like an energy tank a hit, I believe. And he's just really difficult to hit and has a lot of HP, and that's not a good sound! Final 5 minutes of the game, ladies and folks, the final destruct sequence. Our goal is actually that ship that I said totally wasn't important earlier. Because otherwise, why wouldn't it be on the map? That is what we need to escape this thing because, well... Actually, I wonder, what would happen if you went back into the Chozo Ruins part of Chozodia? Huh. Probably a game over. I'm just gonna say that, it's probably a game over, but that is kind of an interesting thought I just realized. Also, I love the self-destruct theme here. It's not Ridley's theme, but it's still awesome. Short, though. Really short. Place a power bomb here, by the way, for speedrunning purposes, because otherwise you'll have to wait a few seconds up here. And now, what I'm actually about to try and attempt to do is use a speed booster effectively. First off, you have to knock this gonk R2-D2 rip-off thing into that little hole I just made, but you have to make sure that he doesn't go over it like he just did. Because otherwise he'll be in your way, and that's not nice. Get out of my way, sir. Thank you. What you have to do is speed boost enough to destroy that. Then do that run again, and make sure you have the door open first off. And then save up with Shine Spark. Shine Spark to the right, and you'll get on that hill, and then you can just constantly do that over and over again until you reach the door. If you do this correctly, and you jump and speed boost at just the right time, you'll actually be able to go right through all these little walls that are blocking the way to the door. The one to my left, the one to my right, and the one to the right of the one to my right. Pretty much, it makes this room a non-existent pain for you. It's a speedrunning tactic that you can use, but I was so close to doing it, but I sadly failed. Ah well, you can't win everything. I'll just take blowing up the planet as... Well, no, actually, don't blow up the planet. Shit. This is like one of the few planets Samus doesn't blow up. Yet. I gave it 8 games after this point. And now it's at... These two black space parts are actually harder than the final boss, which I find hilarious. Excuse me, sir. How does she know how to drive this thing? Seriously? And dude, that's not gonna do anything. What do you think you're gonna accomplish? Dude, sir, get out of my way. Oh, I told you so. Poor dude. And that, everyone, was the end of Let's Replay Metroid Zero Mission. By God, 10 years later and I still love this game. The fact that this game is 10 makes me feel older than it should. But as for the game itself, I find it to be fantastic. It's easy and short, sure, but the fun that you'll have during it is enough to make up for that. And going for 100%, while it is annoying because you have to explore all the areas and go out of your way for it, is still a rather fun journey. The soundtrack's fantastic, the combat, while simple, is still fantastic, and it's just such an overall fun game. It's tied for my favorite Metroid game with Metroid Fusion, and it's mostly just because of my only problem with Zero Mission. Its length. There's a reason the world record speedrun is like less than a half an hour. This game is pitifully short without going for 100%. And but if you put it with Fusion, it's actually at least a decent length, because then you at least have like 2 to 3 hours instead of just like under 1. As for what I'm going to be doing next in the Metroid universe, I intend to either replay Fusion or finally get to Super Metroid, because I do really love that game. And yeah, but the fact that this game is 10 now, it's kind of scary, actually. To me in particular, because 2004 was a year and a half for me, pretty much. And that's not even the only 10-year anniversary in this... The only 10th birthday of a game this year either. Paper Mario 1000 Year Door is turning 10, Fire Red is turning 10. This is gonna be a year for... This is gonna be hell. But, either way, this is a game that I think I can recommend to anyone. There's not many games I can say that when I'm playing, I enjoy all the way through and will always be smiling. It's just this, Mega Man 6, Resident Evil 4, and Fire Emblem Awakening that I can do that with. And I love it for that. And then we have this little ending cinematic, which, I'm surprised this place isn't damaged at all by those explosions. Oh, this reminds me of Ocarina of Time, actually. I never realized that. It's like the little carvings at the bottom of Link's house. But Samus drew something as a kid, and she didn't even acknowledge it earlier. And once you beat the game, you're given this little segment here that shows your end time in percentage. And you get varying ending images depending on how you did. Normally I get the one of Gravity Suit Samus with her armor on, kneeling on a rock. But this time I got lucky for you little guys out there, and good God, I barely beat my old time. I think my old time was 1:12:55. Good God, that was close. And I got just over half the items in the game, so that's pretty badass. But, with that, I'm gonna need to end this game off here. Thank you guys for watching, rate, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And I'll see you guys next Let's Play, whatever that may be. See you guys then, and see you next mission, everyone. By the way, I love